Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket of Think Tank. So, I found something really, well, it was cool at the time at work. Superman, the official comic book stories that inspired the movie. Superman, Legacy, Corn Sweat, James Gunn. You know, and I was thinking, you know what? Let's see what three stories there were. I already knew what they were, but whatever. That's not what we're here to do. And we'll see if how I felt about it. All right. So our first one is All Star Superman by Grant Morrison, with art by Frank Quietly. Okay, so the premise of All Star Superman is pretty simple. Superman goes and does a thing, heroic stuff, and he's dying because of it. Um, it's a pretty simple, straightforward premise. The death of Superman, as you do, and the story is just sort of Superman coming to terms with that. Pretty much the last days of Superman, and it's all right, honestly. Like, I'm not a big fan of Quietly's art. I know that's sort of a minority opinion to have because what I like about this story is sort of how Grant Morrison shows the world Superman has helped create, and how the idea of his loss will be something that will be felt throughout the DC universe. I do like that. I like when Superman, for all the stuff he can do, for all the people he can beat, I think what works best for him is moments when he's just out and about helping people. And we see the impact he's left on them. It's sort of like, for all the action sequences in Dragon Ball Z, I think my favorite ones are usually just when Goku's doing just regular martial arts. Or if he's just training. I think that's more interesting than anything else. And but ultimately, I'm not a big fan of All Star Superman. I think because the hype around the book, like if you go to lists, it's like All Star Superman is always on the top 10, always on the top 10. If it's not number one, it led to the creation of what I believe they call Hope Corps, which is sort of like a counter movement in response to things like the Injustice Superman, um, better Superman movies, Omni Man from Invincible, Brightburn, Homelander. This sort of idea that Superman should always stand as a symbol of hope. Because it's like a river, and I don't. Okay, yeah, I can't defend that one. But I think that scene works. But anyway, it's a solid read. I think it's a good example again of the sort of world Superman has created and the impact he's left on people, as well as him trying to leave an impact on other people. Like the conversation he has as Clark with Lex, I think is really telling as to like how much he wants to try to reach Lex and change his perspective. Um, Overall, though, I would say it's good, but not as great as everyone tended to claim it was. It's one of the stories that I think was good for its time, but not for the test of time. But whatever. Next is Superman for All Seasons, written by Jeff Loeb and with art by Tim Sale. I like this story. It is effectively different stories, some by John Kent, some by Lana Lang, some by Lex Luthor, and really just talking about Superman. Superman really isn't the focal point here. This is again what I like about certain Superman stories, where it's not so much about Superman, but the impact he has on the people around him. This is really what I think what makes a really good superhero. All right, forget who they are to beat, how they save the day. What's the impact they leave on the world around them? And what I like about this, well, the art I think is all right. Um, I think it works for the story it's trying to tell. A lot of great character moments, a lot of great people. There's a lot of great little moments in this book. But overall, um, the art is just actually, you know what? The art has a lot of character to it. I'm going to retract what I said about that. But if you want to get a good story that has sort of more intimate approaches to the people in Superman's life and Clark's life and how they feel about him, I think that's what you want from Superman of All Seasons. I get the idea that this was sort of the idea um, of his parents in the Superman movie, in Corn Sweat Superman. Overall, though, actually, Superman for All Seasons, I think, is definitely worth being on this list, or at least is a good enough story. Like it's really, really good. It's got a lot of heart to it. It's got Lex being toxic. It works. And speaking of Lex being toxic, Superman, well, actually, this story is called Lex Luthor, Man of Steel, written by Brian Azzarello, and art by Lee Bermejo. And Lee Bermejo is actually, I probably like him least. I probably like him less than I do Frank Quietly. And I've read Batman Noel. I've read Joker, also written by Brian. I think Batman Noel was written by Brian Azzarello. I think it was too. Um, this duo just doesn't really do it for me. I like Azzarello's work, what I have read. Batman Noel, I appreciate the attempt. If did he write Batman Noel? Let's take Batman Noel off on the off chance he didn't write it. Um, Joker was, yeah, it's Brian Azzarello. Just like the more you read Brian Azzarello, the more you realize that Joker is very Brian Azzarello. That story, before Watchmen, Rorschach was possibly my one of my least favorite Before Watchmen stories, and I know a lot of people don't like Before Watchmen. I like Before Watchmen. This story here really helps set up the idea of Lex Luthor as the antagonist. Like, one thing you have to get right about Lex is he's a hater. That's it. And this story shows how Lex views Superman, Satan, or not really, but an alien, a monster. He's antithetical to the progression of humanity, and I don't think, and I think in part that's what he says, but you sort of get the impression that this is about Lex's ego, and I do think that Gunn's Superman did sort of portray the idea that this is about ego for Lex, and even he admits, yeah, I'm jealous, yeah, okay, but you didn't do anything, you didn't accomplish anything, you're just born this way. Fair, I guess. But I also think it plays around with the public persona of Lex and who Lex is as a person. Like, I think Luthor Man of Steel sort of sells the idea that, he doesn't let people know who he really is. Where I feel like in Gunn's Superman, you really have to do a better job of explaining this cult of people devoted to destroying Superman. So, what would I recommend? Well, again, we're not trying to say like these were not good introductions to, well, good inspirations for the Superman movie, because again, I didn't love the Superman movie, but I liked it. I felt it did the job. Nowhere to go but up. I would say if I were to recommend three titles to make it fair, I would recommend Alex Ross and Paul Dini's Superman, Peace on Earth. This is a story of Superman trying to end homelessness. Oh, not homeless, hunger. Where do you get homelessness from? Well, if you're homeless, you're probably also hungry. But anyway, trying to end world hunger. And it's a problem he tries to solve as Superman. And I think he has to realize it's too big for Superman to solve. Like, Superman goes in, he goes to address the world leaders, and like, hey, this is a problem. What are we going to do about it? I'll help however you want me to help. And ultimately, I do like that it's sort of Clark Kent that has the proper way to solve this. Also, with writing by Paul Dini, art by Alex Ross, it is absolutely a brilliant idea. It was a very good introductory story, and I think it works for that story, which is a more established, more comfortable, more knows who he is Superman, than Gun Superman, who was supposed to be like, yeah, I've been at this for like 5 years. I think I know what I'm doing, and I think that works for what it is. Um, I'm going to break the rule here and recommend. Oh, you know what? We're not going to break the rule. I'm going to recommend Jeff Johns' Superman run, starting with Secret Origin, and I might get the endpoint wrong here. I might get the endpoint wrong, but bear with me. With War of the Superman. All right. So from Secret Origin, we get Superman, living as Clark Kent on Smallville, but he meets the Legion of Superheroes because that's a thing in Superman's life where he'll meet, superheroes from the future that are inspired by him, and they go through the future, and it's great for Clark because he doesn't feel as alone. We go to him and growing up with Lex Luthor and Lana Lang, and it's a whole thing. Coming to Metropolis, seeing the impact he's going to have, the meeting with Brainiac in the future, the Bottle City of Kandor, New Krypton. And New Krypton was wild. New Krypton is wild. And, yeah, that story is, it's fun, actually. I just got the the omnibus for it. It should be here soon. Um, what I like about that run is that it does try to balance out um, who Superman is and how his life as Clark Kent and his friendships play a role in there. It does make the DC universe. It's one of the stories that I think helps the DC universe feel a bit lived in and connected. Especially when it gets War with Superman, when everybody gets to fight a Kryptonian. That was fun. Also, Lex gets to be Lex, and I thought those were the best moments. And finally, this one's tricky. This one's tricky because I think to save ourselves trouble, we're not going to recommend another comic book run. Although we've got some great choices. We've got Peter Tomasi, Dan Jurgens. We've got oh god, it just left my mind. Philip Kennedy Johnson in his War World saga, which is continuing now with its own special story. Joshua Williamson Superman run. I think these are all really good runs. They get me to want to read more Superman. I think that is really the whole point of it. But I think my next one is going to be Superman Up, Up and Away by Kurt Busiek. Kurt. I'm going to call him Kurt because I can't pronounce that. And what I like about this story is the premise is short, sweet, and hilarious once we get to the end of it. So, Superman loses powers. And it's not like, JLA Act of God loses powers where, Lois leaves him in disgust because I loved Superman. And he's all drinking and he goes to live with Wonder Woman who works at a burger joint and is a practicing Catholic because, well, I guess the gods did leave her. Technically, I don't know. And then they bump uglies and it's just, I've never liked that pairing. Just, no. This one here is Clark's like, oh, I've lost my powers. I'm okay though, right? Like outside of I can't fly, run and lift and beams. I'm like, well, I'm not contagious or anything, right? Oh, okay, cool. That's pretty much Clark's response. Like, I'm just gonna go live my best life as a normal person, which is a bit hard for Clark once he realized, oh, I can't just barrel through some things. I'm not pretending to get hurt this time. That punch actually did hurt me. Ow. But he's just living his life as an ace reporter for the Daily Planet, get more time with his wife. He's still the same person, just not, with superpowers. It was like, what was that great line? I think it was when Annette O'Toole was Lana Lang back in the day. And Superman said, Superman is what I can do. Clark Kent is who I am. And that is it. I think a lot of stories tend to forget that. Tom King. But anyway, it's just a great story because you keep wondering, okay, when's he gonna get his powers back? When's he gonna get his powers back? And when's he gonna be Superman again? And really, the world kind of doesn't really need him. Supergirl is there, doing the work in Metropolis. The rest of the superhero community is like, yeah, it sucks, but we keep on going. They visit Clark now and then. Hal offered him a Green Lantern ring. He put it on, like, yeah, green. That was fun. That was like what he turns into is like super fun. He's just wearing the same clothes, they're just green, like his sweats and everything. Yeah, I'm Clark Kent. Hey, the funniest person here is Lex, because Lex is horribly obsessed with killing Superman, and it's pretty much just Superman. Like Supergirl's out there is like, I'm gonna kill Superman. Like, what are the other ones? No. And Lex has this huge argument at the end when Clark eventually gets his powers back. And he's like, I could do so much if you weren't here. I'm like, I was gone for a whole year, and all you did was find a way to kill me. You live in my world. That's all I've learned from this. You and Joker, like, what do you do when we're not here? Overall, I think those are 3 really good ones. If you guys have any really great Superman stories or books you've run, like, there's Superman versus the Elite. I think the comic that was based off of. Oof. President Luthor is fun. Superman Grounded is fun. We already mentioned Tomasi, Jurgens. Let's see here. You know what? Honorable mention to Injustice. Okay? I get it. I get why people don't like Injustice. First of all, get over yourselves, alright? For the people that think that should be the mainline Superman, yeah, you need help. I don't really know people who actually say that. What I like about Injustice is it really does show what happens when you put Superman before Clark Kent. All right, because everyone expects Superman, well, Clark, to just be fine over the death of his wife. Batman expects it. Um, ah, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Batman expects it. He won't kill the Joker. He'll be fine. He'll mourn, and he'll be back on it. He'll be back to being himself. He slips, and Batman can't let it go. Superman shouldn't do this. And then what happens? Wonder Woman comes in, and pretty much helps him become a despot. Everyone's like, well, it's Superman. He has it's not Superman anymore. It's Clark. He's hurt and he's angry. All right, you guys, you're not looking after Clark. You're thinking he'll be fine because he's Superman, and that's the problem. So that is our Superman review of the official comic book stories, and 3 books we recommended. What you guys think? Did you like them? Did you hate them? What are your favorite Superman stories? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. I'll catch you all later. This is Bucket Thinking signing off. Thanks for watching as always. May your fandom serve you well. Tune in next one.